Vinyl is back, baby. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I am so happy to talk to you today because I love talking about documentaries, but in particular, documentaries that really dissect and do an analysis of pop culture. And I think we all know vinyl is back. I mean, you can hardly go to any city now that has not just one, but maybe a couple record stores. This is amazing. This new documentary, Vinyl Nation, is here. I have the co-directors, Kevin Smokler and Christopher Boone, are here today to talk to us on the Film Threat Podcast. Welcome, gentlemen. How you doing today?
Great to see you, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
This doc is so fun because just look, I collected records as a kid, and I really do miss that experience of, and I do, you know what? I do have some records here, but I miss that experience of, it wasn't just that you bought an album. When you listened to it, it was an experience. It was everything about the jacket, everything about like the words on the jacket, or even in the sleeve, which had words and whatnot on it. And then additionally, just like, it was like, God, I mean, they're like album covers I probably just looked at so much. There had to be deeper meaning in it. But how did even vinyl even begin to have a comeback, right? Because I remember when CDs came out, they're like, oh, well, CDs will last forever, right? That's not true. But like, what do you think the impetus was for vinyl to just make this huge comeback?
Well, there's about 16 answers to this question, and we only cover about half of them in the movie. So maybe the half that we cover in the movie, Chris and I will split up evenly. I'll start and say the comeback of vinyl begins around 2007, 2008. That's the nadir, and it's on an upswing at that point and has been ever since. That is the beginning, of course, of Record Store Day that begins in Baltimore in 2008. We talk about that in the movie and interview the Record Store Day founder, Brian Burkhart, whose store Soundgarden is still in Fells Point in Baltimore, and Chris and I went to as college students when we both went to college in Baltimore. Also, the 2007, 2008 is the launch of the iPhone. So that's when music truly becomes something you can not only carry in your pocket, but stream from the ether and the cosmos too. And every song putatively is available to you at any time in your pocket, and music becomes kind of, as Stephen Thompson from NPR Music says in our movie, something on the wind, something not tangible, and creates an equal and opposite reaction to that, the need for something tangible. We also like to say a record operates on 4 of the 5 human senses, sort of the difference between seeing a movie in the theater and seeing it at home. You don't really have the smell of popcorn. You don't have the taste of Twizzlers when you see a movie at home, unless you engineer it that way. And a record is something you can see, hear, touch, smell. You can taste it if you want, but we'd advise you not to. Chris, what else? There's a whole bunch I've forgotten, I'm sure.
No, I think they're right on point there. And I think the one other kind of addition to that is like when, iPhone comes around and everyone's getting rid of their physical media, I think they realize they're missing that tangible touch. But then there's this new generation, this younger generation that starts to see turntables on their Tumblr feeds, then their Instagram feeds, and they start to realize, like, that's really cool. I think I want to have that. And lo and behold, Crossley starts putting turntables in Urban Outfitters and Target, and it's really cheap to buy them. And so young people start buying them to put them in their room. They start buying albums because it becomes like an emblem of their fandom. Like, I love this band so much, I have their album, I have them on vinyl, and I might not even have a turntable. They just start putting them up like posters. Once you have about 3 or 4 or 5 records, you kind of want to listen to them. So you're going to get one of those turntables. So it's new people coming into the fold. And then it's folks like Kevin and myself who, we're just old enough that like we had a little bit of contact with records when we were kids, but we were really the cassette CD generation. And now all of a sudden we too are looking to get back into music in a tangible way. And records are just cool. So we get our turntables and we start getting back into records again. And all of a sudden now here we come with this resurgence that's like over 15 years old at this point in time.
Well, what I love about the film is it not only sort of the entryway is this record store day, right? But then it's like you talk to specific collectors, people that, were kind of came together via, records. Additionally, DJs, including some female DJs, which I thought that was you've got like a lot of really amazing running threads that all sort of center around, record collecting. And there's that, the other thing that blew my mind was there was that convention. I can't believe I mean, I used to buy and sell used records. I'm talking about, I'm probably a little older than you guys. So I did actually collect records, but I had cassettes too, because that was for your car. Right. But there is something about that, and I didn't even think about that. The smell. There's a smell to a record jacket or even just the vinyl itself. That's just, it's palpable. It really ties into emotion. So I'm so happy that you compared it to the theatrical film experience, because these are things that I really hope that we love enough to preserve. How did you go about like finding some of these subjects? There's this married couple that you talked to that I thought was such a great. They're so great that you feature them, and kind of how they came together via music. How did you find all these subjects?
Everybody in the movie is a degree of separation or less from us. So it's someone we knew or someone who knew someone we knew. We, as any low budget filmmaker can tell you, or any modestly budget documentary maker can tell you, we had a very limited amount of time once we booked out where we were going to be shooting. And we kind of had a no famous people rule from the very beginning, because we knew we were going to be sunk if we booked, an hour with a famous person and then sent the whole crew to wherever they were. And then the day before we're like, oh, well, they got a gig doing something else. Sorry. Like that could sink our entire project if that minor scheduling snafu happened. So everybody in the movie is a degree of separation removed from us. And then we had these different sort of buckets and categories that we wanted to cover thematically in Vinyl Nation. And we sought out different configurations of people, of interview subjects and characters who would fit in each of those buckets. Chris, can you talk about the buckets?
Yeah, we were looking for a variety of different people. As you mentioned, we wanted to talk to couples who had kind of come together and shared vinyl as a connection. We wanted to talk with parents who are into vinyl and now are sharing that love of vinyl with their kids. We wanted to talk to record store owners, particularly female record store owners, just because we wanted to demonstrate that there are people out there who own record stores that don't fall into the high fidelity stereotype. We wanted to go to record pressing plants because they had really ridden the whole roller coaster ride in terms of the rise, the fall, and the comeback of vinyl records. And those are kind of like the different varieties of people that we want to talk to. Record labels, obviously, as well. And like Kevin said, all these people essentially were like a degree or two away from each of us. And then some we would start to actually have to start banging on some doors, but with the help of people that we met along the way. And that also helped us figure out, Kevin came up with the title Vinyl Nation before we even figured out what this documentary was going to be. And we realized, well, if you're going to call it Vinyl Nation, you got to go all over the country. So we had to put up a Google map and figure out, are we really traveling around the country, or are we just sticking to New York, LA, Nashville and trying to call it a day? And that doesn't feel like much of a nation to us. So we had to see, are we covering as much of the country as we can to get a diverse array of stories. And I think that was really important to us as well from the outset. This could have been a podcast, it could have been a book, but we realized we needed to see people who looked like Vinyl Nation, and we needed to see their records, and we needed to see how records were made, and we needed to see people at Record Store Day. All of those things were very visual. And so that's what led us along the path of let's ultimately make this as a documentary. And
I love that you have the no famous people rule. I thought that because there is sort of in making documentary films, there's a whole other baggage that comes with, you got to get the celebrity interview. Yes, it's something that might push you or give you better chances with a Netflix or whatnot, but there's a lot of baggage, and a lot of people don't even realize there's the doing one celebrity interview, though that person might be in the movie for 30 seconds, that's a day. That's a whole day of travel to them, accommodating them, and sometimes even just a little inside baseball, having to pay for their makeup artist, which is $500. I don't want to get money for this interview, but my makeup artist gets $500. I mean, these are things that, they don't tell you when you're going off making a documentary. So I love that but the people that you chose, because I think that you really chose wisely, just like fascinating characters. And I also love that you explored this because, of course, everyone knows High Fidelity, right? I mean, that movie it's a classic now, but it's also kind of like you explore the idea of an elitism that surrounds people that work at record stores, and kind of you debunked some of that too. Can you talk about that a little bit, which I thought was really great that you showed, well, this is maybe what people think about record stores, and then here's kind of how they really are today.
Yeah, we had, when we started talking about the movie very early on, we said this kind of flip thing that we didn't know was going to bear out. We were like, Chris, I have a feeling that the current manifestation of Vinyl Nation looks a lot more like Thora Birch in Ghost World and a lot less like Steve Buscemi in Ghost World. And we didn't know if that was going to be true. I could have been talking out of my ear, but part of that we knew was going to be going to record stores and seeing like, okay, is it going to be an experience where everybody kind of scowls at you? And where there are precious few women, and where everybody kind of looks like the AV club at your high school. And we didn't know, but I think Chris, I would say like meeting Judy Mills was kind of a huge turning point for us. The Vinyl Nation opens at Mills Records in Kansas City, because we found out that Judy Mills, who owns Mills Records at Kansas City, does an all-day affair for Record Store Day, and people line up 48 and 72 hours ahead of time like it's ticket sales for like the Jay-Z and Beyonce tour. And so we had to see this, and we had to be there to film the line of people lined up. And Chris, tell about Judy and meeting Judy and how that sort of shaped our experience with record stores in this movie.
Well, Judy herself, like her story just kind of embodied what we were trying to uncover. I mean, she opened her record store because she lives in Kansas City, went to a record store, asked them if they had any copies of a record she was looking for that was brand new on vinyl, and they did scoff at her. And they're like, we don't carry new vinyl. Who wants that? And then she looked around and realized there were no record stores in Kansas City that carried new vinyl, and there were very few used record stores. And she worked in retail. She was like, okay, this is a business opportunity. And so she jumped in with both feet. And like when her first year that she opened up, she went big when it came to Record Store Day, and very quickly, ingratiated herself with the community. I mean, Mills Record Company is a place that when you drive by it, you want to stop and pop in for at least 5 minutes, even if it's just to say hi to Judy, because you want to see your friend, Judy Mills. And when you're there, you might pick something up. But then Record Store Day is just like this massive celebration of everybody who goes to Mills Record Company coming on one day. And some of those people only see people they know from Record Store Day, which was kind of fascinating. So it was really like every walk of life that came into that store. And as you can see in the film, it's this bright, airy, beautiful space. It's just like a really nice space to look for records. And again, you just look over the racks, you see what other people are looking for. And if you know the record, you're probably going to tell them you should buy that. And if not, you might bring it up to Judy and her crew and say, like, what can you tell me about this record? And they'll go on and on about why it's great and why you should own it. And you're never going to feel shamed. And so like, she was like the microcosm, Judy Mills herself and the store as a whole kind of, this is exactly how we want to kick things off, because it kind of tells a story in that one scene itself, and then we'll be able to go from there. So she was a great find for us. And as soon as we got off the phone with her, Kevin and I was like, I think we're going to Kansas City for Record Store Day.
Well, it's a great entry point to the subject. And by the way, I was in the AV club when I was in high school.
So no shame.
No shame.
Not at all. But yeah, what I think people underestimate about the experience of going to a record store or an event like Record Store Day is first of all, the social, like talking to other people about music. There's that experience. And there's also just that sense of discovery, right? Where it's something like, oh, if you like this, you really like this, you should check this out. And I feel that we've lost that because, I'll sit there. I feel like I spend sometimes, if I go on a Netflix, I spend more time choosing the thing than watching the thing. And I feel I've wasted time. Whereas whenever I've been to, say, there was a used DVD store that I used to go to in Pasadena called Interact CD-ROM that I loved. The experience of going to that place and looking through used DVDs and whatnot was just like, it was great. It was like this social experience. It was like, and even like the conversations looking back that I've had in those places, it's like doing a podcast, right? Because you're getting all these different perspectives and these recommendations or like non-recommendations that, and I'm hoping through this film that experience can be recaptured so that we're not solitarily sitting in our living room flipping through, trying to choose something, whereas it can be a more social experience. Gentlemen, the movie is fantastic. Vinyl Nation. Tell me, where can people find it?
Vinyl Nation is currently on the film festival circuit. You can see the trailer at vinylnationfilm.com and find out where the upcoming screenings are. And we've definitely got some stuff in the works. We're not going to make any solid promises, but Chris Boone, I think it's fair to say that by Record Store Day next year, one will know where you can see Vinyl Nation on the regular. And do we have any DVDs left from our?
So we did a very special limited edition Blu-ray DVD release for this past Record Store Day this summer. We only did 1,000 copies, and we went all out. We did it in a 12x12 gatefold. We did foil stamping, so it looks like an album. They're all hand numbered because why not? So literally every single one is unique, and you can only get it from participating independent record stores. So most of them are sold out. But if you go to our website, you see a link at the top for the limited edition RSD Blu-ray DVD, and there are a few copies still left at a few stores, but not many. And we keep checking to keep it up to date, and we keep taking stores off the list because they're sold out. So if you hop to, you can probably get your hands on a copy. We're not making any more like that, and we don't have plans in the immediate future for more physical copies to come out. So that was a real special release that we did to really say thank you to the record stores that have supported us, and really the early fans that have supported our film as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vinyl Nation. Just a delightful documentary, and congratulations.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.